We're upstairs here at the White House of the Confederacy with Dr. Wieland. He's going to tell us about this room.
Yeah. Well, this is the relic room, and it's an interesting collection of a number of the personal items. You know, throughout the house, we have a lot of furniture, not all of it Davis's, but in this, the relic room, we see the personal side of Davis. The flag that laid over Davis's casket while he laid in rest here in Montgomery. Of course, the body was on that slow train procession on its way up to Richmond for final burial. Robert E. Lee's communion cup when he was stationed as a younger man at Fort Hamilton. Verena Davis's Book of Common Prayer, very devout Episcopalian. Davis, of course, will be baptized under Charles Minigrode up in Richmond. Davis's hair after his death in New Orleans, part of his hair, his daughter Margaret's hair, part of that whole hair culture of antebellum America, where quite often many items were made from human hair, a practice that we really don't have today. Verena Davis's nightgown here is interesting. A later period piece, post-Civil War, of Margaret's Tea Party dress, the oldest daughter of Verena. It's believed that Beauregard may have been in the house. We see Beauregard, Davis in the middle. Of course, Stonewall Jackson was not, but again, much of the artwork in the house. We were just having an interesting conversation of Raphael Semmes. It was believed that he was in the house. He reports here for coastal defense duty, and we have a portrait, an engraving of him, and a model downstairs. Robert E. Lee's grandson, as probably you're all aware, Robert E. Lee was never in the house. He won't leave United States service until April 23rd. As you know, here in Montgomery, we're more of a February, March, early Confederate history. But his grandson, on his way up to practice medicine in New York, the arrival place of so many ex-Confederates going up to New York City, his grandson gave us this portrait of Lee. Notice that all of the Confederate markings are kind of taken off the uniform, probably after the fall of Richmond and the fall of the Confederacy, when Lee will go back to that apartment in Richmond. But note how all of insignia and rank has kind of been removed. Thomas or Jefferson Davis, kind of following in the footsteps of the great Thomas Jefferson. You make wine at Monticello? Well, why not make wine at your home in Briarfield? So here's a bottle of wine that Jefferson Davis has made his, kind of again, after his namesake, following the Jeffersonian model, the love of Republican government, of states' rights, agriculture, and why not a little winemaking as Thomas Jefferson, his namesake, did at Monticello. A frock coat in Confederate gray given by General Jubal Early to Davis after the war. As many of you are aware, the two are in close contact after the war, writing a series of articles about what will become known as the Lost Cause. But Davis, later in life, after he moves down to Biloxi, will be in close contact, of course, with Jubal Early. We don't have it displayed very well here, but you can notice the Whitney rifle. Yes, the same Whitney, Eli Whitney. Of course, if you're going to make cotton gins, there's no question you're probably going to be a gun maker. Your knowledge in metallurgy, usually it's clock making, gun making, and cotton gins. We see the Whitney rifle. The Whitney rifle, of course, gets Davis in a lot of trouble with Winfield Scott. When Davis takes the Mississippi Rifles down to fight at the Battle of Buena Vista, he insists on having that Winfield, that rifled barrel. He doesn't want to go in the battle with a musket. Winfield Scott tells him tough luck. Davis goes around him with his political connections, and he's able to get him. And of course, that will be a pivotal moment in the Battle of Buena Vista. Davis's socks from the Mexican War, his epaulets, his canteen, his sash, all interesting items here at the first White House. And a flute, Davis was a family man, probably on those steamboat travels up and down the Mississippi with family members, or at the home in Briarfield, would have, of course, in those days you entertained yourselves with instruments. You didn't have the old cassette player or anything digital at all. Davis's bathrobe from down in Biloxi. Just a lot of personal items, a backgammon set. Of course, many of you watching today play some backgammon yourselves. A sword, we believe, that Franklin Pierce had given Davis. Of course, as many of you know, the leading copperhead up north is President Franklin Pierce. Very good friends with Davis, the 14th president of the United States.